Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, staring at the massive alien fleet that had just dropped out of hyperspace. 12 different species made up the Galactic Council's enforcement armada, their ships forming a threatening wall between her and the human colony ships below. Each vessel was larger than anything humanity had ever built, designed to intimidate rather than fight efficiently. The communication console buzzed with an incoming transmission. Chen nodded to her communications officer, Lieutenant Rodriguez, who opened the channel. The holographic image of Hagemarch Zalthos materialized in front of them. The tall reptilian alien wore ceremonial armor that gleamed under the bridge lights. His cold yellow eyes held nothing but contempt as he looked at the human admiral. "Human Fleet Commander," Zalthos began, his voice carrying the arrogance that came from 1,000 years of galactic dominance. "I am Hagemarch Zalthos of the 4th Enforcement Fleet. You will stand down immediately and prepare to receive Emergency Decree 7749. Chen kept her expression neutral, though her hands clenched into fists behind her back. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Systems Fleet. State your business in human space, Hagemarch." Zalthos's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile on his alien features. "Human space?" He laughed, a harsh sound that grated against human ears. "The Galactic Council recognizes no such territory. Emergency Decree 7749 has been enacted by unanimous vote of the 12 founding species. Humanity has been declared a rogue species." The words hit Chen like a physical blow, but she maintained her composure. Around the bridge, her crew exchanged worried glances. They had all heard rumors about what happened to species declared rogue by the Council. None of those stories ended well. On what grounds? Chen demanded. Zalthos activated a holographic display that showed a list of humanity's supposed crimes. Unauthorized colonization of the Kepler, Proxima, and Vega systems. Interference with Council trade routes. Violation of the non-interference directive regarding the Krillian refugee situation. And most recently, refusing to submit to mandatory genetic screening protocols. Chen's anger flared at the last item. The Council's genetic screening was nothing more than an attempt to catalog humanity's biological weaknesses for future exploitation. Every species that had submitted to the process had found themselves under increasing Council control within a generation. "Those systems were unclaimed," Chen said. "The Krillians were dying, and we had medical supplies they needed. As for your genetic screening, humanity declines to participate. Your opinions are irrelevant," Zalthos replied coldly. "Emergency Decree 7749 is now in effect. All human colonies beyond your home system must be evacuated within 30 standard cycles. All human vessels will be impounded, and their crews processed for resettlement on approved worlds. Any species providing aid to humans during this transition will face severe sanctions." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. Chen looked at the colony ships on her tactical display. New Terra held over 50,000 civilians who had spent the last 5 years building homes, farms, and communities. Many of them were families with young children who had never seen Earth. "And if we refuse?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. Zalthos's yellow eyes glittered with anticipation. "Then you will be classified as hostile combatants and dealt with accordingly. The Council's patience with humanity's arrogance has reached its limit." Chen took a deep breath, thinking of her own daughter, Emma, who served aboard the medical frigate Mercy's Hope, currently docked with one of the colony ships. Emma had volunteered for colonial medical service because she believed in humanity's right to spread among the stars and help other species who needed aid. "I need time to consult with the colonial leadership," Chen said finally. "You have 1 standard hour," Zalthos replied. "After that, we will begin enforcement operations. Choose wisely, Admiral. The Council's mercy is not infinite." The transmission ended, leaving Chen alone with her thoughts and her crew's worried faces. She immediately opened a priority channel to all ship commanders and colonial leaders. Within minutes, the main screen showed dozens of faces, both military and civilian. Governor Martinez of New Terra spoke first. "Admiral, our people won't leave. This is their home now. Many of these families sold everything they had to come here. They've built schools, hospitals, entire communities. You can't ask them to abandon all of that." Captain Williams of the cargo vessel New Horizons nodded in agreement. "My ship is full of farming equipment and medical supplies for the outer settlements. These people depend on us. If we leave now, the colonies in the Perseus Arm will starve." Chen listened to each report, her heart growing heavier with every word. The colonists weren't soldiers or politicians. They were teachers, doctors, farmers, engineers, and their families. They had committed no crime except believing they had the right to build new lives among the stars. "What about Earth?" asked Captain Foster of the escort carrier Independence. "Have they received word of the decree?" "Communication lag puts Earth about 6 hours behind us," Chen replied. "They won't know about this until it's too late to help." Dr. Sarah Kim, the chief medical officer from New Terra's main hospital, spoke up from the crowd of faces. "Admiral, we've been treating Krillian refugees for the past month. Their immune systems are still compromised from whatever weapon was used on their homeworld. If we evacuate now, they'll die." Chen closed her eyes briefly. The Krillians were a peaceful species that had been attacked by unknown raiders. Their distress call had reached human space, and despite Council orders to ignore it, several human medical ships had responded. It was the right thing to do, but it had apparently been the final straw for the Council. "I understand everyone's position," Chen said, "but I have to consider the lives of everyone here. The Council fleet outguns us 50-1. Even if we fight, the outcome is inevitable." "So we just give up?" Governor Martinez asked. "We let them dictate where humans can and cannot live?" Before Chen could respond, her tactical officer called out, "Admiral, the Council fleet is moving. They're taking position around our colony ships." Chen's blood ran cold as she watched the alien vessels surround the defenseless civilian transports. All ships red alert, raise shields, and prepare for defensive actions. The communication console crackled to life again as Zalthos reappeared. "Admiral Chen, your time is up. Order your civilians to begin evacuation procedures immediately." "The families need more time to gather their belongings," Chen said, trying to buy precious minutes. "Children, elderly, medical patients who can't be moved quickly." "Unacceptable," Zalthos cut her off. "The decree is clear. Evacuation begins now, or we will consider the colonists to be unlawful combatants." Chen felt her temper rising. "Those are families down there, not combatants. They're not even armed." "Their presence in violation of Council decree makes them combatants," Zalthos replied with cold logic. "You have 10 minutes to begin evacuation, or we will remove them ourselves." The transmission ended, and Chen stared at the tactical display. The Council ships were powering up their weapon systems, targeting the colony ships that held thousands of innocent people. Her own fleet was badly outnumbered, but she couldn't abandon the colonists. "All ships, prepare for combat," she ordered. "If they want a fight, we'll give them one." But even as she spoke, Chen knew it was hopeless. The Council's technology was centuries ahead of humanity's. Their ships were larger, their shields stronger, their weapons more powerful. This wouldn't be a battle. It would be a massacre. The 10 minutes passed in tense silence. Chen watched as families on the colony ships tried desperately to gather their possessions and reach the evacuation shuttles. Children cried as they were torn away from homes they had known their entire short lives. Elderly colonists moved slowly, some too frail to hurry even when their lives depended on it. When the timer reached 0, Zalthos didn't hesitate. His flagship's main cannon fired a brilliant beam of energy that struck the medical frigate Mercy's Hope. The ship exploded instantly, taking Emma Chen and 300 other medical personnel with it. The blast lit up space like a brief, terrible star. "You monster," Chen screamed into her communicator. That was a medical ship. They were marked with medical symbols. Zalthos's image reappeared, his expression unchanged. They were in violation of Council decree. This is what happens to those who defy the will of the galaxy's rightful rulers. More Council ships opened fire. The colony transport New Dawn tried to escape but was cut down by energy beams. Another transport, carrying mostly families with children, suffered a direct hit to its engine section. The ship began breaking apart, its hull splitting open and spilling bodies into the cold vacuum of space. Chen watched in horror as 3,000 innocent people died in less than 5 minutes. The Council fleet didn't even try to disable the ships or take prisoners. They simply destroyed everything human in the system. "Broadcast this," Zalthos ordered his communications officer. "Let all species see what happens to those who challenge the Council's authority." The alien fleet recorded everything. They filmed the explosions, the debris fields, the floating bodies of children and elderly colonists. They filmed Chen's tears as she watched her daughter die. President Elena Martinez stood in the emergency session of the Solar Parliament, her face pale as the final images from New Terra faded from the massive display screens. Around her, Representatives from Mars, Europa, Titan, and the asteroid colonies sat in stunned silence. The footage of the Council's attack had reached Earth just hours ago, transmitted by Admiral Chen before her fleet retreated from the system. 3,000 civilians, Martinez said, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. 3,000 men, women, and children murdered for the crime of building homes on an unclaimed world. Senator Harrison from Mars leaned forward in his chair. Madam President, what is our response? The Council has essentially declared war on humanity. Martinez turned to face the assembled representatives, her dark eyes burning with controlled fury. They wanted to remind us why we should fear them. Instead, they've reminded us why they should fear us. The President activated her personal communicator, connecting directly to Admiral Reynolds at Luna Command. Admiral, what is the status of Operation Lazarus? All systems are green, Madam President. Reynolds replied from the military headquarters hidden beneath the moon's surface. We've been waiting for your authorization to begin full activation. Around the chamber, several representatives looked confused. Senator Kim from the Europa colonies raised her hand. Madam President, what is Operation Lazarus? I don't recall approving any military operation by that name. Martinez smiled grimly. Senator, for the past 50 years, humanity has been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never come, but we knew that eventually some galactic power would try to put us in our place. She gestured to the wall display, which now showed a map of human space. What had appeared to be only a few dozen systems suddenly revealed hundreds of hidden installations. Asteroid mining facilities transformed into massive shipyards. Research stations became weapons development centers. Exploration vessels shed their peaceful designations to reveal themselves as fully armed warships. Every mining operation in the belt has been secretly building warships, Martinez continued. Every deep space research station has been developing new weapons and defensive systems. Every merchant vessel has been designed to rapidly convert into a military transport. Senator Petrosky from the outer colonies stared at the display in amazement. How many ships are we talking about, Madam President? Admiral Reynolds answered from Luna Command. As of today, the Sol Defense Force consists of 2,147 vessels of various classes. The Council intelligence estimates put our fleet at 200 ships. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. Representative Chen from Earth's Asian Federation stood up. Madam President, the budget allocations never showed this level of military spending. How was this possible? Every civilian project served a dual purpose, Martinez explained. The asteroid mining program developed the industrial capacity to build warships. The terraforming research gave us planetary bombardment capabilities. The medical missions to other species allowed us to study alien biology and develop specific countermeasures. She walked to the center of the chamber, addressing all the representatives directly. For 50 years, we've been playing the role of naive newcomers, eager to please and desperate for acceptance. We let the Council and other species see what they wanted to see, a young, weak race that posed no threat to the established order. Senator Harrison nodded slowly as understanding dawned. The Council never saw us as equals. They saw us as potential slaves or useful tools, so we let them believe that while we prepared for the inevitable. Exactly, Martinez confirmed, and now they've given us the justification we never wanted, but always knew we might need. The President activated another communication channel, this one connecting her to every human settlement, ship, and station across known space. Her image appeared on screens from Mercury to the furthest colony in the Centauri system. Citizens of humanity, she began. 6 hours ago, the Galactic Council murdered 3,000 innocent people at New Terra. They destroyed medical ships marked with healing symbols. They killed children who had never hurt anyone. They recorded their atrocity and planned to broadcast it as a warning to any species that might think about standing up to their tyranny. The President paused, letting her words sink in across human space. But they made one critical mistake. They forgot that humans don't just fight for territory or resources. We fight for the idea that innocent people should be safe from monsters who rule through fear. In homes, factories, ships, and stations across 100 systems, humans stopped what they were doing to listen. On Mars, construction workers gathered around portable screens. On Europa's research stations, scientists left their laboratories to hear their president's words. In the asteroid belt, miners who had been secretly building warships for decades finally learned why their work mattered. Today I am authorizing Operation Lazarus, Martinez continued. For 50 years we have prepared for this moment, hoping it would never come. The Council has forced our hand. Admiral Reynolds took over the broadcast from Luna Command. All Sol Defense Force units implement activation protocols immediately. All civilians in reserved systems begin evacuation to secure zones. All allied species representatives, you have 24 hours to declare your positions. Across human space, the transformation began. On Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt, massive hangar doors opened to reveal the super dreadnought Retribution, a ship larger than any vessel the Council had ever built. Its weapon systems alone represented 50 years of human innovation and anger. In the outer system, what appeared to be small research stations suddenly revealed themselves as hidden fleet bases. Ships that had been disguised as ore haulers and passenger liners shed their false hulls and activated military-grade weapon systems. President Martinez returned to addressing the Parliament. The Council declared us a rogue species. They said our time among the stars is over. I say our time has just begun. She turned to the display showing the new Terra attack footage. Admiral Chen is being promoted to Fleet Admiral and given command of the Terran Expeditionary Force. Her mission is simple: find everyone responsible for this atrocity and bring them to justice. Senator Kim looked troubled. Madam President, the Council has ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. Their technology, their fleets, their alliances. How can we possibly stand against them? Martinez smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. Senator, they rule through fear and intimidation. Their ships are big and impressive, designed to make other species submit without fighting, but we've studied their weaknesses for decades. Admiral Reynolds brought up tactical displays showing Council ship designs. Council vessels are built for show, not efficiency. They're slow, over-armored in non-critical areas and rely on outdated weapon systems. Their crews are recruited from dozens of species that barely tolerate each other. Our ships are smaller, faster, and designed by people who understand what war really means, Martinez added. More importantly, our crews all share the same goal: making sure what happened at New Terra never happens again. The President opened another communication channel, this one reaching Admiral Chen aboard the damaged UES Defiance. Chen's face appeared on the main screen, her uniform torn and her eyes red with grief and rage. Admiral Chen, Martinez said formally, I'm sorry for your loss. Emma was a hero and her sacrifice will not be forgotten. Chen nodded, her voice steady despite her obvious pain. Thank you, Madam President. What are your orders? You are hereby promoted to Fleet Admiral and given command of all Terran expeditionary forces. Your mission is to hunt down Hegemarch Zalthos and everyone who participated in the New Terra massacre. Bring them to justice, and after that? Chen asked. Martinez looked around the chamber at the faces of humanity's elected representatives. She saw fear, anger, determination, and something else. The cold resolve that came when peaceful people decided they had been pushed too far. After that, Fleet Admiral, we're going to teach the galaxy why you don't murder human children and expect to get away with it. The Parliament session ended with a unanimous vote authorizing unlimited military action against the Galactic Council. As representatives filed out to prepare their home systems for war, Martinez remained behind to watch the reports coming in from across human space. The activation of Operation Lazarus was proceeding faster than anyone had dared hope. Decades of secret preparation were paying off as humanity's true military might revealed itself. Fleet bases that had been hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae came online. Weapons that had been developed in civilian research labs began moving to the front lines. But most importantly, humanity itself was awakening to what they were capable of when their survival was threatened. The species that had spent 50 years playing the role of harmless newcomers was about to show the galaxy what they really were: the descendants of persistence hunters who had once chased mammoths across ice fields and would now chase their enemies across the stars. On the viewing screen, Martinez watched as the first Terran expeditionary fleet formed up around Fleet Admiral Chen's flagship. 50 ships that had been scattered across human space for years came together with military precision. Each vessel carried crews who had lost friends or family at New Terra. Each captain had orders to find Hegemarch Zalthos and be Hegemarch. Zalthos lounged in his command throne aboard the flagship Dominion's Pride, reviewing reports from across Council space. 3 weeks had passed since the cleansing of New Terra, and he expected to be reading about human surrenders and evacuations. Instead, the reports painted a picture that made no sense. Status report from the Altair sector, his aide, Sub-Commander Kextar, announced nervously. The 3rd Enforcement Fleet reports. They've lost contact with 7 patrol groups in the past 10 days. Zalthos waved a clawed hand dismissively. Equipment failures. The humans are probably cowering in their home system, afraid to venture out. What threat could they possibly pose? Before Kextar could respond, the ship's communication system activated with an emergency priority signal. The image of Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen appeared on the main screen, her human face calm and cold as space itself. Hegemarch Zalthos, Chen said, her voice carrying across the bridge. I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Expeditionary Force. You murdered my daughter and 3,000 innocent people at New Terra. I'm here to offer you a choice. Zalthos rose from his throne, his yellow eyes blazing with fury. How dare you contact me directly? Your pathetic species should be fleeing to the edge of the galaxy by now. Chen's expression didn't change. Your choice is simple, Hegemarch. Surrender yourself for trial as a war criminal, or I will hunt you down and kill you. Those are your only options. The alien commander laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. You think you can threaten me? I command the mightiest fleet in Council space. My ships number in the hundreds. I know exactly how many ships you have, Chen replied. I also know where you are, where you're going, and how long it will take me to get there. You have 1 hour to respond. The transmission ended, leaving Zalthos staring at a blank screen. Around him, his bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. The human had spoken with the confidence of someone who held all the advantages, but that was impossible. Council intelligence put the entire human fleet at fewer than 200 vessels. Sir? The sensor officer called out. I'm detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching our position. How many? Zalthos demanded. Difficult to determine, sir. The signatures are unusual. Smaller than our vessels, but moving in perfect coordination. On the tactical display, 50 human ships dropped out of hyperspace in a sphere formation around the Council fleet. Each vessel was less than half the size of a Council cruiser, but they moved with a precision that suggested either perfect training or some form of shared consciousness. Impossible, Zalthos whispered. Where did they come from? Council intelligence said they only had a handful of ships. His communications officer looked up from her station. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from all human vessels simultaneously. They're broadcasting on every frequency. Put it through, Zalthos ordered. Fleet Admiral Chen's voice filled the bridge, but this time it wasn't just her speaking. 50 ship captains spoke in perfect unison, their voices creating an eerie harmony that sent chills through the alien crew. This is the Terran Expeditionary Force. Hegemarch Zalthos, your hour is up. Surrender now or we will take you by force. Zalthos activated his own communication system, addressing his fleet of 300 ships. All vessels prepare for combat. Show these primitive humans what happens when they challenge the Council's authority. The battle began immediately, but not in any way the Council commander expected. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, the human ships scattered like a school of fish, moving in seemingly random patterns. But there was nothing random about their coordination. Target the lead human vessel, Zalthos ordered. His gunner fired the main cannon at the closest human ship, but the vessel twisted away at the last second, while 3 other human ships struck the Council flagship from different angles. Their weapons were smaller than Council guns, but they hit with surgical precision, targeting specific systems rather than trying to overwhelm shields through brute force. Shields down to 60%, his engineering officer reported. They're targeting our weapon systems directly. Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Council ships designed for intimidation and shock tactics found themselves unable to land solid hits on the smaller, faster human vessels. The humans moved like they shared a single mind, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be at any given moment. How are they coordinating like this? Zalthos demanded. Our sensors show no communication between their ships. His science officer looked up from her readings, fear evident in her alien features. Sir, I think they're using quantum entanglement communication. Instantaneous coordination across any distance. The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly. Human ships used the Council fleet's own size against them, darting between the massive vessels and using them as shields while delivering precise strikes. When Council ships tried to pursue, the humans led them into carefully planned ambushes. "Sir, the human flagship is requesting a direct communication link," the communications officer announced. "Put her through," Zalthos snarled. Fleet Admiral Chen appeared on screen again, but now her ship's bridge was visible behind her. The human crew worked with the same eerie coordination as their fleet, moving and responding as if they were parts of a single organism. "Hegemark, you have two choices," Chen said calmly, even as her ship's weapons tore through another Council cruiser. "Surrender yourself for trial or watch me destroy your entire fleet ship by ship." "You can't win," Zalthos protested. "Even if you destroy my fleet, the Council has thousands of ships across the galaxy." Chen smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression Zalthos had ever seen on any species' face. "Did you think we only brought one fleet, Hegemarch? Did you think we were only hunting you?" The tactical display updated with new information that made Zalthos's blood run cold. Across Council space, human fleets were appearing at major bases and shipyards. Each attack was perfectly coordinated, striking simultaneously despite being separated by hundreds of light years. "How?" he whispered. "We've been watching you for 50 years, Chen explained as her ships continued their deadly dance around the Council fleet. "We know where every base is located, every ship deployment, every weakness in your defenses. While you were focused on ruling through fear, we were learning how to end your rule permanently." Another update flashed across the screen. The Council's main shipyard at Proxima Station had been completely destroyed. Their primary fleet base in the Vega system was under attack. Reports were coming in from dozens of systems, all telling the same story. Human fleets appearing without warning and striking with devastating precision. "This is impossible," Zalthos said, staring at the cascade of defeat reports. "You're just one species. We rule dozens. That's your problem right there," Chen replied. "You rule through fear and force. Your subject species hate you, your allies don't trust you, and your own people are more concerned with status than competence. We fight for the simple idea that murdering children is wrong." As if to emphasize her point, the human ships suddenly changed tactics. Instead of continuing their hit-and-run attacks, they formed up into a wall formation and began advancing directly toward the Council flagship. "Sir, they're charging our position," the tactical officer reported. "All 50 ships straight at us, all weapons, fire," Zalthos ordered desperately. The Council fleet opened up with everything they had, filling space with energy beams and projectiles. But the human ships didn't dodge or weave. They flew straight through the barrage, their shields flaring and sparking but holding. Some ships took damage, but none broke formation. "Impact in 30 seconds, the tactical officer announced. Zalthos realized what was happening. The humans weren't trying to destroy his fleet anymore. They were coming for him personally. Evasive maneuvers. "Get us out of here." But the Dominion's pride was too large and slow to escape. The human ships struck the Council flagship like a spear thrust, their weapons focused on a single point. The massive vessel's shields collapsed under the concentrated assault, and human ships began attaching themselves to the hull like parasites. "Boarding pods detected," security reported. "They're cutting through the outer hull. Seal all sections. Prepare to repel boarders," Zalthos ordered, but he knew it was too late. The humans had come for him specifically, and they weren't going to be stopped by locked doors. The sound of cutting tools echoed through the ship's corridors as human marines burned their way inside. Council security forces tried to stop them, but the humans moved with the same eerie coordination as their ships. They seemed to know exactly where each defender would be and how to counter every tactic. Within minutes, the sound of fighting reached the bridge itself. Zalthos drew his ceremonial weapon, a plasma blade that had been passed down through generations of Council commanders. Around him, his bridge crew prepared for their final stand. The bridge doors exploded inward and human soldiers poured through the breach. They moved like water, flowing around defensive positions and overwhelming the alien guards with precision strikes. In less than a minute, every Council officer except Zalthos was either dead. The Council chambers on Hegemonia had never been silent before. For 1,000 years, the massive hall had echoed with the voices of the 12 founding species as they debated, argued, and issued decrees that shaped the galaxy. Now emergency lights cast eerie shadows across empty seats as reports of defeat poured in from across Council space. High Chancellor Vorthak, eldest of the reptilian hegemon caste, stood before the great viewing wall that displayed a strategic map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated human attacks, yellow showed compromised systems, and green represented areas still under Council control. There was far too much red and yellow, and the green areas were shrinking by the hour. Status report, Vorthak commanded, his ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries. Defense Coordinator Meltis stepped forward, her crystalline form refracting the emergency lighting into prismatic patterns. High Chancellor, we have confirmed losses in 47 systems. The humans have destroyed or captured 80% of our enforcement fleets. How? Demanded Councillor Thranok, representing the militant Saurok delegation. Our intelligence report said they had fewer than 200 ships total. Meltis activated a holographic display showing human fleet movements. Our intelligence was wrong, Councillor. Current estimates put human fleet strength at over 2,000 vessels, all using technology we didn't know they possessed. High Chancellor Vorthak studied the tactical displays with growing unease. The human attacks weren't random raids or desperate strikes. They showed a level of coordination and intelligence gathering that suggested decades of preparation. They knew, he said quietly. They knew exactly where to hit us for maximum effect. Impossible, scoffed Councillor Krathis, the cybernetic representative of the machine-enhanced Nexus Collective. We monitor all species for potential threats. The humans showed no signs of advanced military capability. Then explain this, Meltis said, updating the display to show footage from the Battle of Proxima Station. The screen showed human ships moving with perfect coordination, striking simultaneously across multiple star systems despite being separated by hundreds of light years. The Council members watched in stunned silence as their supposedly invincible fleets were systematically destroyed by forces they had dismissed as primitive and harmless. Communication from the Saurok Liberation Front announced the Chamber's AI system. Hi. Chancellor Vorthak's head snapped up. The what? The main display activated, showing the face of General Krekstar, a Saurok military commander who had served the Council faithfully for decades. But now his reptilian features showed open rebellion. High Chancellor, General Krekstar began, I am broadcasting from the liberated world of Saurok Prime. As of this moment, the Saurok people formally withdraw from the Galactic Council and pledge our support to the Terran Commonwealth. Councillor Thranok rose from his seat, his own Saurok features twisted with rage. Krekstar, you dare betray your own species? The Council gave your people civilization. General Krekstar's laugh was bitter. The Council gave us slavery, Thranok. We provided soldiers for your wars while our people mined toxic minerals on prison worlds. The humans offered us something the Council never has. Equality. The humans are using you, Vorthak protested. They will discard you once you're no longer useful. Then they'll still treat us better than you have for the past 3 centuries, Krekstar replied. The humans shared their terraforming technology with us freely. No demands, no conditions, no tribute. They asked only that we help them bring war criminals to justice. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in shocked silence. Within minutes, similar broadcasts began arriving from across the galaxy. The Veltar Crystal Confederacy announced their defection. The Aquatic Alliance of Nereid declared neutrality and opened their borders to human ships. Even some of the founding species-owned colonies began declaring independence. How did this happen so quickly? Councillor Krathis demanded. These alliances took us centuries to build. Defense Coordinator Meltis brought up intelligence reports that painted a picture of systematic human infiltration going back decades. The humans have been conducting what they call humanitarian missions throughout Council space for the past 50 years. Medical aid, disaster relief, technological assistance. We dismissed it as primitive altruism. It was reconnaissance, High Chancellor Vorthak realized. They were mapping our territories, studying our weaknesses, and building relationships with oppressed populations. Sir, the communications officer interrupted, we're receiving a priority transmission from the human fleet surrounding our system. Put it through, Vorthak ordered. The display showed Fleet Admiral Sarah, Chen standing on the bridge of her flagship, but she wasn't alone. Representatives from dozens of species stood behind her. Saurok generals, Veltar crystal singers, Nereid water speakers, and others. Even some younger members of the Council species were present. High Chancellor Vorthak, Chen began formally. I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of the Terran Expeditionary Force. The planet Hegemonia is now surrounded by ships from the Terran Commonwealth and our allies. Vorthak looked at the tactical display. which showed hundreds of ships in formation around the Council's capital world. Human vessels formed the core of the fleet, but they were joined by ships from dozens of species that had once served the Council. "What do you want?" Vorthak asked. "Justice," Chen replied simply. "We want the individuals responsible for the New Terra massacre to stand trial. We want the Council's oppressive laws repealed. And we want the slave worlds liberated." "You cannot demand the surrender of sovereign council members," Councillor Krathis protested. "We are the rightful rulers of this galaxy." Behind Admiral Chen, General Krekstar stepped forward. "Rightful?" he said with a sneer. "My people were conquered and enslaved. The Veltar were forced to sing their crystals into weapons for your wars. The Nereid were relocated from their ocean worlds to make room for Council industrial facilities. What right did any of that give you?" Chen raised her hand, calling for quiet. "High Chancellor, we know about the planet killer weapon hidden in Hegemonia's core. If you activate it, you'll murder billions of your own people to spite us. I'm giving you a chance to prevent that tragedy." The Council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Several members turned to stare at High Chancellor Vorthak with horror in their alien features. "You built a planet killer under our capital?" Councillor Meltis demanded. "Without telling the Council?" Vorthak's ancient features showed no remorse. "It was a necessary contingency. Better to deny our enemies the prize than allow them to claim victory." "You're talking about genocide," said Councillor Yathara, the youngest member of the Council. "Our families live on this world. Our children are elders. You would murder them all?" "I would prevent the natural order from being overthrown by an inferior species," Vorthak replied coldly. The younger Council members looked at each other with dawning realization. Several stood and began walking toward the chamber's exits. "Where are you going?" Vorthak demanded. Councillor Yathara turned back with disgust clear in her features. "To surrender ourselves to the humans before you murder us all. At least they offer trials instead of summary execution." As more Council members filed out of the chamber, Admiral Chen's voice continued from the communication system. "High Chancellor, you have 6 hours to make your decision. Surrender the war criminals for trial, or watch as your own people remove you from power. The choice is yours." The transmission ended, and Vorthak found himself alone with only the most fanatical Council loyalists. Outside the chamber, he could hear sounds of commotion as younger Council members organized their own surrender. "Sir," Defense Coordinator Meltis said quietly, "perhaps we should consider terms." "Never," Vorthak snarled. "If we cannot rule, then no one will." He activated his personal control interface and began entering the codes that would detonate the planet killer weapon. But as his clawed fingers moved across the controls, the system refused to respond. "What's wrong with this device?" he demanded. A new voice spoke from the chamber's speakers, young and confident. "I disabled it, Grandfather." The display activated to show Councillor Yathara standing in the Planet Killer's control center, surrounded by human marines and young Council members from various species. "You," Vorthak gasped. "How did you know about the weapon?" "I've known about it for years," Yathara replied sadly. "I hoped you would never be desperate enough to use it. The humans contacted me weeks ago and asked for my help in disabling it safely. You betrayed your own species." "I saved our people from your madness," she corrected. "High Chancellor Vorthak, by the authority granted to me by the Emergency Council of Hegemonia, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit genocide." Human soldiers entered the Council chamber, moving with the same eerie coordination that had marked all their military actions. They placed restraints on the remaining Council hardliners while treating them with professional courtesy. Admiral Chen entered the chamber personally, her expression neutral as she approached the ancient High Chancellor. "Vorthak of the Hegemon caste," she said formally, "you are charged with war crimes, genocide, and conspiracy to commit planetary destruction. You will be transported to New Terra for trial along with the other Council war criminals." As the former High Chancellor was led away, he turned to look at Admiral Chen one last time. 5 years had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council, and the courtroom on New Terra buzzed with quiet conversations in dozens of languages. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the final day of the War Crimes Tribunal that would reshape how justice was understood among the stars. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen, now older with silver threading through her dark hair, sat in the witness section alongside other survivors of the New Terra massacre. Where the original colony had once stood, a beautiful memorial garden now grew, with flowers planted in soil mixed with the ashes of the 3,000 victims. Judge Maria Santos, a former Earth Supreme Court justice, called the session to order. The courtroom fell silent as the last defendant was brought before the bench. Former High Chancellor Vorthak looked frail in his simple prisoner's clothing, a far cry from the magnificent robes he had once worn. Vorthak of the Hegemon caste, Judge Santos began. This tribunal has found you guilty of genocide, war crimes, conspiracy to commit planetary destruction, and crimes against sentient life. Before I pass sentence, do you have anything to say? The ancient alien looked around the courtroom with eyes that held no remorse. You think you have brought justice, but you have only brought chaos. Without strong rulers, the galaxy will tear itself apart. Judge Santos nodded calmly. Thank you for your statement. This tribunal sentences you to life imprisonment on the rehabilitation world of Haven, where you will spend your remaining years helping to heal the damage your policies caused. Admiral Chen watched as the former dictator was led away, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Justice had been served, but it couldn't bring back Emma or the other victims. Still, it sent a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. No one was above accountability. The tribunal is now concluded, Judge Santos announced. This court thanks all participants for their patience and dedication to the cause of justice. As the courtroom began to empty, Chen made her way to the memorial garden outside. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the carefully tended flowers, each one representing a life lost in the Council's attack. She found Emma's marker, a simple stone surrounded by her daughter's favorite blue roses. Mom? Chen turned to see a young Saurok female approaching, her scales shimmering with nervous patterns. Yes, Cassara? Cassara had been one of the refugee children Emma had been treating when the medical frigate was destroyed. She had survived only because she was visiting the colony hospital at the time of the attack. Now she wore the uniform of the Commonwealth Medical Corps, following in Emma's footsteps. I wanted to thank you, Cassara said, switching to accented but clear English. For everything. Emma taught me that healing is more important than fighting. The Commonwealth gave me a chance to continue her work. Chen smiled, feeling some of the weight in her chest lighten. Emma would be proud of you. How are your studies going? I graduate next month, Cassara replied proudly. I've been assigned to the medical mission heading to the former slave worlds in the Outer Rim. We're going to help treat the genetic damage from the mining operations. That's wonderful news, Chen said. Emma always believed that the best way to honor the dead was to heal the living. As they spoke, other figures began arriving in the garden. Representatives from across the galaxy came to pay their respects at the memorial. Former enemies now worked side by side, united by shared tragedy and common purpose. General Krextar approached, his military bearing softened by age and peace. Admiral Chen, he said formally, then switched to a warmer tone. Sarah, how are you holding up? Better than I expected, Chen replied honestly. Seeing what's grown from this tragedy helps. She gestured to the garden around them, but also to the thriving city visible in the distance. New Terra had been rebuilt as the capital of the Commonwealth, a place where species from across the galaxy came to learn about cooperation and peaceful governance. The First Galactic Assembly convenes tomorrow, Krextar noted. Have you decided whether you'll accept the nomination for Supreme Commander? Chen shook her head. Military leadership should be temporary in peacetime. The Commonwealth needs civilian governance, not admirals making policy. But you're the one everyone trusts, protested Ambassador Yathara, who had become the Commonwealth's first Secretary General. Your name carries weight with every species. That's exactly why I shouldn't hold permanent power, Chen replied. We didn't fight the Council just to replace them with a different set of rulers. President Martinez's voice came from behind them. Which is why you're exactly the right person for the job. Chen turned to greet her old friend, now serving as Earth's representative to the Commonwealth. Elena, don't you start too, Martinez smiled. I'm not asking you to be a dictator, Sarah, but someone needs to coordinate the Commonwealth's defense forces, someone the galaxy trusts to use that power responsibly. As they debated, a young human boy ran through the garden, chasing a ball that had gotten away from him. He was followed by several alien children, all laughing as they played together. The sight made Chen pause, remembering Emma's dream of a galaxy where different species could grow up together in peace. 3 years, Chen said finally. I'll accept the position for 3 years. then step down to let someone else take over. The Commonwealth Constitution allows for renewable terms, Ambassador Yathara pointed out. And I'm sure it will work fine for someone else, Chen replied firmly. But I won't become another Vorthak, convinced that only I can lead effectively. The next morning, the First Galactic Assembly convened in the Great Hall that had been built adjacent to the Memorial Garden. Representatives from over 200 species filled the chamber, a sight that would have been impossible under the old council system. Secretary General Yathara called the session to order, her voice carrying clearly through translation systems that allowed every species to participate in their native language. The first order of business, she announced, is the approval of the Commonwealth Defense Charter and the appointment of a Supreme Commander. The vote was unanimous. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen found herself officially appointed as the Commonwealth's first Supreme Commander, with the mandate to build a defense force based on protection rather than conquest. In her acceptance speech, Chen looked out at the assembled representatives and saw species that had been enemies for millennia now working together toward common goals. We gather here on ground, soaked with innocent blood.
She began, her words translated into hundreds of languages.
We remember 3,000 people who died for the crime of building homes on an unclaimed world. We remember the countless others who suffered under tyranny for 1,000 years. She paused, looking toward the memorial garden visible through the chamber's windows. But we're not here to mourn. We're here to ensure that such atrocities never happen again. The Commonwealth stands for a simple principle, that no being has the right to rule another through fear. The assembly erupted in applause that lasted several minutes. When it finally died down, Chen continued. The Council ruled through overwhelming force and the threat of destruction. The Commonwealth will defend through cooperation and mutual aid. Our ships will carry medical supplies as well as weapons. Our soldiers will be trained as peacekeepers, not conquerors. Over the following years, Chen's vision became reality. Commonwealth fleets patrolled the galaxy not as enforcers of imperial will, but as protectors of the innocent. When natural disasters struck, Commonwealth ships arrived with aid. When conflicts arose between species, Commonwealth mediators helped find peaceful solutions. The former Council species adapted to their new circumstances in different ways. Some, like the Sarok and Veltar, embraced the Commonwealth's ideals and became its strongest supporters. Others struggled with the transition from rulers to equals, requiring patience and careful diplomacy. The slave worlds were slowly healed through a combination of advanced terraforming technology and generations of careful restoration. Species that had been oppressed for centuries began to rediscover their own cultures and histories. As her 3-year term neared its end, Chen often walked through the memorial garden in the evenings, reflecting on how much had changed. The galaxy was far from perfect, but it was better. Children of different species played together in Commonwealth schools. Former enemies worked side by side on scientific projects. The threat of extinction no longer hung over species that dared to seek independence. On her final day as Supreme Commander, Chen stood once again at Emma's memorial marker. The blue roses had spread, creating a patch of earth flowers blooming in alien soil. It seemed fitting somehow. We did it, she whispered to her daughter's memory. We built something better. A young voice spoke behind her. Supreme Commander Chen? She turned to see a human boy, perhaps 8 years old, wearing the uniform of the Commonwealth Youth Corps. Behind him stood a group of alien children of various species, all looking up at her with curious eyes. Yes? Chen asked gently. Our teacher said you're the one who built the Commonwealth, the boy said. Is that true? Chen knelt down to speak to the children at their level.